Welcome to the bold analysis. Musalia Mudavadi light moments with Uhuru Kenyatta in Burundi has elicited mixed reactions and painted a clear picture on what exactly our politics is made of. Yesterday, Uhuru was received in Bujumbura, the capital of Burundi, as official EAC peace facilitation. This was a high-profile meeting hosted in Kiriri Presidential Palace in Bujumbura, attended by, among others, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the Ugandan president, Ramaphosa, South African president, Tshisekedi, the DRC. William Ruto was represented by Musalia Mudavadi, and the meeting was also convened under the chairmanship of the EAC chair, Burundian president, and Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, was also in attendance. Now, in this video here, this is when Uhuru arrived, and I paid close attention to this video. It has been trending overnight for better part of Saturday night by, of course, many analysts trying to explain what could be behind it. When Uhuru arrived in this video here, he was received by the EAC dignitaries and looked very jovial. You know, in people who were close to Uhuru Kenyatta at one point, they will always tell you that Uhuru is one of leaders that is not boring. He's one of the people that is always very jovial and hearty. You'll always have hearty discussions, conversations with him. And in fact, many an instance, he doesn't like the serious talks when one is with his peers. Then after that, look at how he was embraced by Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi was in this event, and he also received Uhuru Kenyatta there, also in his capacity as the Kenyan envoy. And I want to imagine, because after that, these other photos emerged, and you can see the two leaders sharing hearty moments, and even the photo sessions, joint photo session. This was informal before even the sittings. That's what I wanted to understand. These were not official photos. You know, Uhuru Kenyatta and Musalia Mudavadi, actually the photos were taken by the Musalia Mudavadi Secretariat. These photos were taken just in the dust there. Things have not started. You know, if you've ever gone to an event and maybe things are still being organized and say someone arrives and then these photos were taken. So I want you to imagine if the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was the person representing William Ruto in that event and tried to replace Rigathi with Musalia there with Rigathi. Which kind of image do you think we would have seen? I may not be shocked to have, might have seen a drama where when Uhuru Kenyatta comes in, Rigathi starts walking away. I can tell you, it's possible. The kind of hate that is there. And okay, fine. Let's even imagine he's watching the videos and the photos from the comfort of his home. Do you think he can welcome such an, such a discussion? Do you think that can sit comfortable with him? That's what I was trying to imagine when I saw this. And I'm just asking, was it by design for William Ruto to skip the Burundi meeting? Or between this one Burundi meeting that is to discuss the peace in, I think, the South Sudan and the DRC, and attending the UK coronation, which one was primary? Which one do you think would have maybe gone for first? But I also understand that according to communication that was released from the presidential team, he's also supposed to visit Israel and other European nations apart from that UK coronation, which was yesterday. If it is just coronation, then he would have just come back the next day because the coronation, I think, was done yesterday. So he's also supposed to go for other engagements. And that tells you why it is not just specifically on that UK coronation. Now, this makes me remember some Uhuru saying at one point that, he had a very close relationship with Musalia before Musalia crossing over to join William Ruto under the arrangement of the earthquake moment. But I understand exclusively that Uhuru was given his full itinerary to go, and the presidential status plus the advance team that were there. Everything was organized and put in place against an earlier report of cutting down on his budget. A reason why he actually declined to attend the Dubai meeting on 23rd February. I think it was 23rd January. If I analyze that here, that Uhuru literally declined to attend a meeting that was to be held in Dubai, and that meeting had to be cancelled because he was the Nairobi Peace Process facilitator. And when he sent some names to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, I think, for organization of the visa and the arrangements and the advance team, President William Ruto's advance team was already there. But when Uhuru Kenyatta sent, there was a bit of some frustration. The numbers were cut down, the bodyguards reduced, and I think even the stature of the hotel changed, and he declined. He said he was not going. And that Dubai meeting never happened, by the way, for your information. So on this one, I understand he was given the full itinerary. Mudavadi, I think, exhibited exemplary public relations stint and maturity. This is why I even understand why Ruto has found him more suitable to represent him in such high-profile meetings than Rigathi Gachagua, who should be the person, one of the second most high-profile leader here. Someone is also trying to say that probably it could not send Rigathi because he was out of the country. So in his absence, Rigathi should be the person in charge. Maybe, but I remember during ICC, there's a time Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were all out of the country. But nothing happened. We've outgrown those coups. We've outgrown that reasonings about coup. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you make of that hearty moment between Musalia Mudavadi and Rigathi Gachagua? I want to see your thoughts in the comment section, what you think, as I also try to dive deep on what could be behind the scene and some few lessons that I think politicians and the young politicians should understand. I've always said that in this country we have two crop of leaders. We have the juvenile politicians that are caged with political emotions and are short-sighted just looking at what's happening at the moment. Then we have the senior politicians who have seen and felt it all, and they are very accommodative and reconciliatory in any manner. And that is why I can tell you that sometimes it's good to have the senior leaders. As much as many will then try to demonize, but it's good to have the senior leaders also, a mix of the senior and the juvenile. Mudavadi is under clear obligation, either from William Ruto or himself, but I don't believe himself, to accord Uhuru Kenyatta full respect and not to export our dirty emotions from Nairobi. There have been a lot of dirty emotions against Uhuru Kenyatta here in Nairobi. The emotions that we've seen through the attempted coup in the party, the Jubilee Party. We've also seen those emotions against about invasion of the private property. Remember the farmland invasion. We've seen a lot of these emotions, attacks on the Kenyatta family, on the issues of the land and the taxes. So there have been a lot of efforts by the juvenile politicians to try to attack Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think Mudavadi himself is saying, we cannot export those emotions at that stage. And that is why you are seeing that going on. And I can tell you, I can promise you, if it were the other US truly, you would have seen a different picture. In fact, it would have been drama. You would be shocked to see the kind of reaction of going there. Now, I know someone's saying, what can Rigathi do? You know, during a swearing in, a moment that you're supposed to be happy, accommodative, reconciliatory, and very, very professional and dignified, is where someone took the opportunity, the microphone, to call Uhuru all sorts of names. And he will use the slightest opportunity he will get. I can tell you, that was a moment where the whole nation, the whole world is looking at how Kenya, how the transition is going on. And everyone is glued in the TV, and he did it. So what tells you about just an East African president's meeting? He would actually do it even at that stage. Then the second thing is this is a clear message to Rigathi Gachagua that you must be careful not to destroy bridges. What Musalia Mudavadi is doing here is he's building these bridges. Musalia and Uhuru Kenyatta were once together. Even in 2013, if you remember, the person who was supposed to be the presidential candidate, who was even to be fronted by the Mount Kenya mafias at one point, was Musalia Mudavadi. But somewhere things changed, and you remember the Madimonis, the story about the Madimonis, how there was an overnight meeting by the Mount Kenya mafias, and the whole story turned to be, by the next morning, after Musalia preparing himself to be the presidential candidate, then Uhuru Kenyatta was picked. And then coming into the 2022 election, there was really talks of even Musalia Mudavadi to be fronted as the candidate, by the way. There was also talks of him getting the backing of both Raila and Uhuru for him to be fronted as the candidate at one point, if in any case the negotiations between the parties will not bear any fruit. Then from the moon, he came out. So what he's simply saying here is, Uhuru is not my enemy and I'm not going to ban the bridges. So in the opportune time, the leaders must be very sensitive, because how about if in future both Raila and Uhuru supports Musalia against a candidature of Rigathi? You never know. Create a ticket of Musalia and Kalonzo and support it against a candidature of Rigathi. So that's one thing that is here. Number 3, you must see that Uhuru profile as the 4th president of the Republic of Kenya is of high regard at international stage and cannot be trashed. And you cannot rub it off. We've always been telling the Mount Kenya people that Uhuru was the 4th president. That one is of high regard. So it doesn't matter how many microphones you will be grabbing and abusing and insulting the 4th president, that profile is of high regard. I also see Rigathi Musalia saying, I do not harbor any enmity with Uhuru Kenyatta, and what is being seen there is a dynasty pull. Musalia Mudavadi is just pulling a dynasty card there. And when that is pulled, I can tell you it's what is in that picture. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my take, and I want to read your feedback on what you think about this.